Delivering a speech in front of a crowd of coworkers or classmates can be quite a daunting task. Few people are well suited to handle all eyes on them, and even fewer are equipped to make a compelling speech at the same time. If you are looking for ways to improve your public speaking skills, then you've come to the right place. If you'd like to get straight to the tips, skip to this timestamp. Before I get to the tips, I'd like to address any skepticism regarding the validity of my tips. Why am I in any position to tell you how to improve in speech making? And I'm going to be upfront with you. In high school, I enjoyed writing and delivering speeches or oral assignments to my classmates so much that I put more and more effort into them each time. The extra effort paid off because I ended up scoring an average of 9 out of 10 for my speeches. I enjoyed having my voice heard so much that I volunteered to speak in front of the whole school during a Friday assembly, but my speech got turned down by the principal because he thought it was too controversial. So, if you're wondering what qualifies me to lecture others on how to better their speech making, I have nothing more to cite than my good grades and the fact that I enjoy speaking so much, I've started a YouTube channel just to get my voice out there. And you could make the argument that speaking in front of classmates has in no way prepared me for speaking in front of colleagues or people in any other more formal setting. While that is partially true, the only real difference between presenting a speech in school and presenting one out of school is the context. Being a strong orator transcends the context in which you speak. If you're good at public speaking, then the context in which you speak should make no difference to the content and delivery of your speech. You do you, and the audience, whether they be classmates or coworkers or people you've never met before, get taken along for the ride. So you want to make it a good ride. And without further ado, let's get into my tips to help you improve your public speaking skills. I chalk up public speaking to consist of 3 fundamental factors, the 3 P's, the first of which is passion. Passion is your mild interest or devoted love of the subject matter. You need to be passionate in some capacity for your speech to reach the audience in a genuine manner. If you are not passionate about the topic at hand, not only will your writing potential drastically diminish, but the audience will pick up on it. It is incredibly easy to spot when a speaker doesn't actually care about what they're saying. Focus your speech on something you actually care about or risk becoming just another mundane speaker who no one remembers. Then again, if you do just want to make your speech, get the good grade, and get it over with, you could do that, but this video isn't for you. If you want to improve your speech craft, then you have to throw a little bit of love into the mix. If you're being asked to present a speech at a business-related event, then there's a good chance that you're already knowledgeable on the subject matter, and being passionate about your work shouldn't be difficult. I know that some people aren't passionate about their work, but if your superiors have requested that you present a speech about your specific area of expertise, then you've got it easy, whether you care about that subject or not. If you're in high school, then you might be given a sheet of paper with a dozen or so topics of which you must choose or are assigned one. This tends to limit the amount of passion you can muster for the presentation, but don't worry, it isn't the end of the world. Not by a long shot. If you get to choose the topic of your speech, make sure that it is something you at least vaguely care about. We'll work from there. If you are assigned a topic that in no way speaks to your interest or values, then you're out of luck, but still, all is not lost. If you have to present a speech, the topic of which comes from a pre-made list of topics and was assigned to you, your success is dependent on your ability to manipulate the subject matter. The more passionate you are about your speech, the more inspiration from which you'll have to draw. But the further the topic is from your realm of interest, the more you'll have to manipulate it to flesh out your speech. Which is why you should always try to speak on topics that fall within your realm of interest. Let me give you an example from my time in high school. In grade 10, my English class was tasked with writing a speech which we would have to present 2 weeks later. We were given the ability to choose our topic ourselves. Several topics piqued my interest, but I eventually settled on, should we be obligated to help the poor? I chose the topic because I saw potential for me to sow my passion into it, and that's exactly what I did. My speech was essentially a case study of taxation and American capitalism, but because I was able to reasonably relate it to its impact on the poor, my speech made sense, and I'm pretty sure I got 9 out of 10. If your chosen or given topic has no direct relation to your interest, then you're going to have to put in some extra effort to make it work. I'm not saying that it'll be easy in all cases, but it's most certainly possible. You'll have the best chance of turning an uninteresting topic into one on which you can speak extensively if you are passionate or at least mildly concerned with a variety of topics. The more topics you care about in your personal life, the more you have from which to draw in your speeches. Everyone is passionate about something. The extent to which people care about things differs from individual to individual, but everyone has something they can babble on about at length. We all know people who appear relatively reserved until their passion is brought up in conversation. They immediately switch on and become interested in talking because they know, or at least think they know, what they're talking about. Passion is key to writing and presenting a good speech, but you must exercise caution, because even though passion is guaranteed to give you something to talk about, you don't want to go out of control rambling about how much you care about the topic instead of making a coherent speech. Which segues nicely into the next P, points. Passion is great. Passion will spark the fire that gets your creativity going, setting you up to write a great speech. But unadulterated passion just comes off as preaching. If you don't focus your speech around clear, logical points, you'll lose the interest of the audience and potentially get a bad grade. Preaching about how much you love the subject matter does not make for a good speech. I think poverty is bad because it makes me unhappy is not a valid argument. It's not an objective statement, but rather a subjective opinion. You might say, but Lumo, why would I want to make arguments in a speech? Well, all a speech is a collection of arguments. While presenting a speech, all you're really doing is putting forward arguments and trying to convince your audience of something. The worst type of speech is the one that makes no interesting claims and doesn't challenge the audience's understanding of the topic. The better your speech is, the more convincing and memorable it will be. You want to steer clear of opinions and feelings as much as possible when writing a speech. An opinion can make for a valid point in a speech, but will never be as strong of an argument as facts are. This means that you will have to do some research to bolster your passion for the topic. Including vetted research and statistics in your speech exponentially increases the validity of your arguments and makes your points far more convincing to the audience. Take these statements for example. Poverty means that millions of people around the world cannot afford basic needs such as food, water, and shelter. Poverty is awful. I would know. I have a friend who can't afford to eat every day. Both of these are statements about poverty, but their differences can go a long way to inform you about how you want to structure your speech. Statement 1 is an objective statement that uses statistics to reinforce the underlying message, that poverty is detrimental to our livelihood. Statement 2 is also an objective statement. However, Statement 1 uses empirical evidence to reinforce its message, whereas Statement 2 uses anecdotal evidence. In other words, Statement 2 makes an objective statement that is based on personal experience or limited research rather than facts and data. The problem with anecdotal evidence is that it is so subjective that anyone's anecdotal evidence is just as valid as anyone else's. Statement 2 could be refuted if another person says, "Poverty isn't that bad. I would know. I have a poor friend who can afford to eat every day." One of these statements is based on the rule, the other is based on the exception. The problem with anecdotal evidence is that because both of these statements are based on differing personal experiences, they are both equally valid. Whereas, if someone was to say in response to Statement 1, "Poverty isn't so bad because all those poor people can afford basic needs," then we would be able to dispute that statement because we have data and research that proves it wrong. Avoid opinions and anecdotal evidence at all costs because they will never be as valid as facts and empirical evidence are. No matter how much you love the topic of your speech, you must form your passion for the subject matter into clear, logical points that rely on credible data rather than emotions. Remember, if the topic is heavily unrelated to your interest, meaning that you've had to manipulate the subject matter to some extent, some of your points must link back to the speech's specific topic. You could include linking sentences at the end of every paragraph, for instance, but the amount of linking that is necessary for your speech to make sense is directly proportional to how different the topic is to your interests. The third and final P is performance. So, you've written your speech, you've sown some of your passion into it, you've structured it around logical and coherent points. Now all you have to do is deliver it in front of some arbitrary amount of people, be they classmates or coworkers or literally anyone. They're all the same because they are the least important part of your speech. The audience is 99% irrelevant. Why? Because they probably don't care about your speech and are extremely unlikely to remember even a fraction of it anyway. Think I'm wrong? Let's try a little thought experiment. I challenge you to recall one entire sentence from a speech that you've heard within the past year. Can you do it? No? Okay. How about I challenge you to recall the topic of a single speech you've heard within the past year? Probably much easier. But my point is that if you can't remember so much as a single sentence from a speech you've heard recently, what makes you think that anyone will remember a line from your speech? They are even less likely to remember anything you say if they have multiple different speakers to whom they have to listen. The audience is mostly irrelevant. But at the end of the day, they are the audience. You are delivering your speech to them, and so you should take them into account in an extremely small capacity. Just remember, they are 99% irrelevant. I urge you to stow your fears of speaking in front of crowds because that may cause you to underperform. Sadly, I can't help you conquer your fears of crowds because, in all honesty, I'm afraid of crowds too. I don't enjoy speaking because there are so many eyes on me. I enjoy delivering thought-provoking words to any amount of people, and I truly believe that if you put all your energy and focus into writing and delivering a speech, then the fear subsides and you only care about your performance. I can't tell you how to get rid of the fear, but I can tell you that shifting your focus to the speech rather than the audience makes the whole process much easier. If you are confident in your speech, then you'll be confident while speaking. On the flip side, if you've put very little effort into your speech and delivered like you couldn't care any less, your fear for the audience will vastly increase. As I said earlier, people can pick up on it when speakers don't actually care about their speech. The audience will react to how you perform in front of them. If your performance is unconfident and mediocre, they will treat you accordingly. If your performance is passionate, well-researched, and provocative, they will treat you accordingly. When it comes to body language, I'm quite clueless. In my speeches, I would just stand still, deliver my speech, make eye contact with the audience, and rarely use my hands to communicate some kind of visual. Just remember, if you put your passion into your speech, then you should deliver it naturally, just as you would if you were talking to your close friends. If you deliver your speech naturally, then let your body language come just as naturally. But don't slouch, that's an immediate F. If you could speak with a podium or something similar in front of you, that would be ideal. A podium will hide any awkward footwork to which you may fall victim under such strenuous circumstances. Plus, I like to lean on them with my arms stretched out straight. It makes me feel important. Whatever you do, do not appear timid or afraid. If you appear weak while delivering a speech, you will be less convincing. If the audience smells fear on you, they are far less likely to take you seriously and remember what you say. But Lumo, you said they won't remember what I say anyway. Allow me to clarify. While delivering a speech, you should not fear the audience. Full stop. But if you want to make a good speech, you should aim to make it memorable. Ultimately, you shouldn't be afraid of the audience remembering your slip-ups decades from the time you make the speech, but you must aim to make your speech so inspiring or interesting that they are more likely to remember it. And if you do slip up, do not say sorry. Never apologize while delivering a speech, especially in a formal setting. Say, "Excuse me," and resume speaking. It's that simple. And I'm sure it isn't everyone who does this, but back in my high school there were these girls who thought they were cute when, while delivering a speech, they would mess up in a sentence and go bleh instead of acting like a normal human. Do not do this. It never fails to make me want to shoot myself. Great speeches are memorable, well-researched, and controversial. Great speakers are confident, interesting, and confident. Sadly, you cannot manufacture charisma, bottle it up, and sell it to people. It is learned, practiced, and perfected. I only got better by putting in more effort and trying to enjoy myself. In conclusion, remember the 3 Ps: passion, points, and performance. If you keep these 3 factors in mind when preparing a speech, you will absolutely do better than you would if you just delivered your speech like a well-dressed scarecrow. Now, you may have watched this video and thought to yourself, this won't get me better grades in school. To which I'd have to reply that my goal isn't to get you better grades in school. I want to make you a better speaker. If you just want good marks, then deliver your speech like this with totally random inflections while alternating looking at your speech and the audience between every sentence. If you want to improve your ability to write and deliver good speeches, then you must sow your passion into the subject matter, structure your arguments around logical, well-researched points, and perform your speech naturally. Do those, and you'll be well on your way to becoming a great orator. But be careful. Speech is a human universal that influences every other aspect of our lives. The ability to properly manipulate one's own speech directly precedes the ability to manipulate others' thoughts. History is full of examples of excellent orators who were simultaneously horrible humans. As always, I love discussion and debate, so if you have any criticism of my public speaking tips, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.